So the correlation coefficient denoted by R, also called the R value, is one way to measure the strength of a linear relationship. We don't need to go over residuals in here, but like don't confuse that with residuals. Why they choose the letter R for correlation coefficient, I don't know, but that they just do. So correlation coefficient is our R value, and it's a way to measure the strength of a linear relationship. The sign of the R value will be the same as the sign of the slope for the best fit line. The R values go from -1 to 1 inclusive. So that means like every number in between, there's lots of decimals in between. And it can be -1 exactly and exactly. The closer R is to 1 or -1, the stronger the linear relationship between the variables. Taking that one as a good answer. That should count as an answer. So everyone's after looking at them now. So the closer R is to 1 or -1, the stronger the linear relationship is between the variables. The closer R is to 0, the weaker the linear relationship is between the variables. All of which we talked about earlier. So if you're still confused, let me know. Okay, so next you are going to match the scatter plot with the correct correlation coefficient. So you have 8 R values and 8 scatter plots to match. So there's 3 on the back that can fit on the front. So make sure you're including them in your matching. Everyone has been used once. So don't assign 2 R values to 1. Gianni, tell me one match that you're able to make. Logan S, close it. What do you mean for which one? For this activity. Tell me one match that you're able to make. Say louder. 8 to A. Okay, so based on the R value alone, how would you classify this R value class? Strong. What else about it? So any that are not positive, so those are usually pretty easy to identify if they're going up or not. If they're not positive, don't look for them to be the R value of 1. So like, I mean, don't actually cross them out. Like when it's your turn. Don't actually cross them out. But like, I'm just showing you that one's negative, so it couldn't have an R value of 1. C is negative, F is negative. G, I mean, the line that's drawn would have a negative slope, although that one kind of looks like no correlation. And then we're just looking at 4 that are positive at all. So out of the 4 that are positive, would you say that A is the most strong, the most linear? So then, yes, that is a good match. So A has an R value of 1, which is the strongest, other than like -1 is also the strongest. Most linear, they're all on a perfectly straight line. So this one would be an example of like, probably wouldn't be able to put this one in Desmos. Can't see each individual dot clearly. That's why we teach you how to do it by hand too. But for your final and for your quizzes, like, all right. Angelo, tell me another match that you're able to make. negative one, or yeah, negative one, R value goes to F. All right, so looking at the ones I crossed out now, so I don't see they're ones that I crossed out because they were the ones that were negative. Would you guys agree that between these four, that this one would be the strongest? So then that is a good match to make. So F, get what number one was, and there's that. Logan S, tell me another match we were able to make. 7 is B is the boy. Is that what you said? Yep. All right, so let's look. If we're saying that R value is 0.9, so look at the ones that I haven't crossed out. The ones that I haven't crossed out with all positive, like 0.9 is positive. Would you say that out of the positive graphs that this one is the second strongest overall? You guys agree with that? So yeah, the other ones look more loose. I mean, A is definitely the strongest, that's why we gave it the R value of 1. 0.9 is pretty close to 1, but it's as high as 1, right? So that I would agree. Kyle, tell me another match that we're able to make. 4 and H. Okay, so the negative 0.06. Now, negative 0.06 is pretty close to what? And out of the other R values, there's no other one that's close to 0. So I would expect the one that is attached to this R value to look more like the no correlation. When I look at H, I can tell it has a correlation because I can tell it's going up. Okay, so look at the other graphs. Which one looks more like it has a no correlation? Okay. Do you guys agree with that? Should the negative 0.06 actually go here? Because it's has a line going down drawn on it, but if that line wasn't there, I actually wouldn't know what direction it's going. So G is actually the one that needs to go as number 4. All right, so it's negative slightly, a little bit that it's going down. But still pretty close to 0, close to a no correlation. Kylie, you want to try again? Yeah. Maybe a negative 0.95. All right, negative because it's definitely going downward, so I agree with that. And out of the other ones that are negative that you haven't labeled yet, I would say that this one is stronger than the other. Right? So I do agree with that. That means that this other one that was negative must be the negative 0.74. So like in between these two per string. That makes sense. Any question? That red line was just me crossing it out earlier when we were talking about the ones that were positive. So we labeled all the negative ones. So D was. So we're down to just 2. Rodolfo, which one can you match? Out of the 2 that are left, C and H. Yeah. Like this, like Hold on, but what is it?
5.
5 is E, let's see. So 0.48, let's see. That, and compared to this R value, these R values are pretty close to each other anyway. So 0.65 would be a little stronger. So compare E and H for which one seems a little stronger. Do you guys agree that if I'm assigning E as 0.48, that means that that one's weaker than H? You guys agree? Even the cheating one. Okay, what do you think? What do you think it should be? There's only one other one left. If it's not 0.48, because we're saying that that would be bigger than 0.65, what our value should be, of course. 0.65. Okay. And I mean, these two are pretty similar anyway. They're both positive. They're both like not that strong, but also not that weak either. Like they're pretty close to each other. But this graph, E, I think is a little more strong than graph H. I would agree with that. H seems kind of like loosely around the line. So we're going to go with 0.48 for H. We're going to go in this order. All right, so you can do it from a graph, like like strong means linear. Positive or negative means is it going up or down? Be able to rank these from strong to weak just based off of the R values too. Because like I told you, strength has nothing to do with like the sign. So if I was ranking them from strongest to least strong, so strongest to weakest, these are values. -1 and 1 are equally as strong. The next highest R value, or strongest I should say, is -0.95. That's stronger than 0.9. Right? -0.95, the absolute value, is closer to 1 than this one is. The next highest one would be what? Is this any? I feel like it's only now we're just ranking the R values that we had from strongest to weakest. So -1 and 1 are equally as strong. Then next would be -0.95, then 0.9. Which one's the next strongest? So the -0.74. Which one after that? 0.65. Which one after that? No, if you said 0.6, not that one. That's 0.06. 0.65 would be the next highest. What would be the next highest after that? 0.48. And then the -0.06 as the weakest out of this set. So again, the sign has nothing to do with strength. It's just like how close is that absolute value. Okay, do that on test. Okay, so that'll be on your quiz tomorrow. Also tomorrow on your quiz will be a couple other things that we're learning tomorrow. But the practice quiz is in Schoology for tomorrow's quiz, even with the other things you haven't learned yet, like already start practicing. You do have a practice for this lesson, and it is this one, this title. Okay, so you'll have the rest of the time to work on it. It's like 5 questions. And then if you don't finish it or get a good grade on it, you do it for homework. You email me if you need another attempt. But like, get to attempts in that. Ungraded ones?
Oh, a bunch of
Okay, if it did, then I would be good. Yeah, the practice quizzes are not for a grade. They're just for you to make sure you're ready for your quiz and for your retake if you want to retake. All right, other questions? Okay, well, if you need me, let me know. You have 15 minutes to work on your practice, and that way you won't have homework, and it's literally 5 problems. You could get it done later.